delighted to be here today. Look forward to, with your approval, taking up the appointment as chair of Dublin Port Company at a very exciting time in the development of the port. As you know, in my background, I have a lot of experience in major infrastructure planning and development, and considerable executive experience in both the public and private sectors. And I consider that I'm, in a good position to be able to help the board and the executive in delivering on the really amazing, major challenges that they face over the coming years. I want to first of all start by saying that my predecessor, Lucy McCaffrey, has left a very powerful legacy in terms of Dublin Port, principally in terms of a strong commercial entity, profitable and efficient, huge efficiency improvements over the last 7 or 8 years, but most particularly the 2040 master plan, the master plan for the port, which will, with the funding that we hope to have available and be able to self-generate, deliver a doubling of capacity in Dublin Port over the next 20 years, and by 2040 potentially up to 77 million metric tonnes per annum. It's currently about 38. And that's purely a reflection of the growth pattern that has existed now for almost 50 years in Dublin Port, where it has been consistent year on year, 3 to 4% per annum, occasionally obviously reflecting declines with economic downturn. And of course, in the context of the Irish economy, the efficient, effective performance of Dublin Port is vital to the economy of the country. It, as you probably know, handles about 84% of the unitised trade in goods, up to 1.5 million units per annum. 1/3 of the national energy requirement is catered for by the petroleum imports through Dublin Port. Very significant export of ore from Tara mines out through the port, and about 2 million passengers in a normal year. And in the context of all of that, of course, we say first of all that we would welcome and continue to support and be very supportive of national ports policy in terms of diversification and the opportunities for growth in throughput in other ports, notably in Rosslare, because obviously that takes some pressure off the port. And the more successful that diversification is, the longer the capacity of Dublin Port is available, and indeed we can be somewhat slower perhaps in rolling out the investment. But the scale of investment that's required over the next 10 years is up to €1 billion. And all of that can be delivered because, for a number of reasons. First of all, the port has been very successful in obtaining planning approval for huge parts of its master plan. So it's not just a plan on the shelf. We now have 2 major strategic infrastructure development approvals that between them cover the entire long-term development of the northern port. And work is now commencing on preparing the ground for the next major strategic infrastructure application to Bord Pleanála, which will be for the South Port and Poolbeg, which obviously has a lot of interfaces with Dublin City Council and with TII, a new access road, for example, across to service the South Port, to bring it back, link it back to the North Port. All of that work will form part of that. Huge amount of consultation. And I suppose the other thing to say is that that master plan, which Lucy oversaw on her board, incorporates very strong features linking the city back into the port and the port back into the city, because in some ways over the last 30 years that link was broken really, and that access through and connectivity between what is a port city is really important. A lot of work has been done on the reinstatement of the old archaeology of the port, and indeed on pedestrian and cycle routes now being developed to link the Tolka and the Liffey. So it's not just about the port, it's also about how the port and the city work together. And I have to say there's an excellent relationship, and I'm delighted to say there's an excellent relationship between the City Council, for example, and the port. And that wasn't always the case. In terms of throughput, in 1999, it achieved 38 million tonnes. 9 years earlier, there would have been 28 million tonnes. So you can see the scale of growth that's been happening. 93 million turnover and 39 million profit after tax. And that profit is what will drive the investment potential over the next period of time. The port currently has debt of about €199 million and a further €250 million available, drawn down for investment in order to deliver the immediate projects that it will undertake in the next number of years. So it is really a very exciting time. Now, obviously, COVID did hit the port, and mid-year we were looking at 20% probably drop back, but it's actually going to turn out nothing like that, thankfully. It's now looking like a 6% reduction, whereas foot passengers are down by 80%. The actual, particularly the Lolo and Rolo traffic is almost back up to last year's levels. So there has been a very significant recovery. And again, that's a reflection, I think, of how the economy has stayed strong and developed. Obviously, the big challenge in the immediate term is Brexit. And I know you're talking to the chief executives in a little while, so I won't go into that in a lot of detail other than to say that 30 million euros has been invested in Brexit-related infrastructure between the buildings and the facilities in the port and the rearrangement of traffic routes through the port. All of that work is on schedule, it's being delivered. And I think the relationship and the cooperation between the state agencies, notably OPW, but the Department of Transport, TII, and the port company has been second to none, frankly. There's obviously a significant challenge now to get the operation of all of that functioning effectively, and I know that Eamon will talk about that when he comes into you shortly. And obviously, as I said, we welcome the new link between Rosslea and Dunkirk, and indeed anything that takes pressure off the landfill, the land bridge is very welcome, because that is a significant concern. So, as I said, with no complacency at all about the circumstances on the 1st of January, but at least I can say with hand on heart that the port company has left no stone unturned in terms of putting the facilities in place. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I am happy to take questions and leave the statement at that.